I worked hotel maintenance for 11 years across 4 different properties. You see things in that job that would genuinely surprise most people. What guests do to rooms, what gets left behind, and what people think they can get away with inside a building they're only borrowing for 2 nights. I stopped being shocked by most of it a long time ago. I'm telling you that so you understand that what happened at the Aldrin last spring wasn't something I spooked easily into doing. I know what I saw and I know what it means, and I'm still not fully over it. It was a Tuesday night close to 11:00. I was doing a routine check on the 4th floor HVAC unit when the call came through my radio room 1312 reporting an issue with the bathroom. Calm voice, no urgency, just a guest complaint rooted through the system the way they always are. I radioed back to the front desk to confirm the ticket. There was a pause on the other end, longer than it should have been. And then Maya, our overnight desk clerk, asked me to repeat the room number, said 1312. She told me to come to the desk. Found her standing back slightly from the computer with her arms crossed, looking at the screen like I had said something rude to her. She told me the Aldrin had 12 floors. I said I knew that. She pulled up the elevator panel diagram on her screen and pointed. Floors 1 through 12. Basement, no 13. She said the hotel had a 13th floor once a long time ago before she worked there, before anyone currently on staff worked there. She said she didn't know exactly what happened, though. Something in 1997. The floor got sealed, and as far as she knew, nobody had been up there since. She said the call I received had to be a system glitch. I told her I was going to check the stairwell access anyway. She told me she'd rather I didn't go alone, and I told her I'd be 10 minutes. The 13th floor stairwell access was behind a utility door on 12 that I'd walked past probably 1,000 times without thinking about. The bolt on it was old, the kind that should have been completely seized with Asian rust. It wasn't seized. It moved stiffly, but it moved. And when I put my shoulder into the door, it opened. The smell hit me first. Stale and close, like a room that hadn't seen fresh air in decades. But underneath that something else, something lived in. The hallway was dark, and I used my flashlight. The carpet was the old kind, a pattern they stopped making in the 80s, thick with dust. Wallpaper peeling off in long strips, all the room doors closed. It looked exactly like it was supposed to be. An abandoned floor, untouched since Reagan was president, except for the path. Down the center of the hallway, through the dust on the carpet, path had been worn. Not a single trip. Repeated walking back and forth over a long period of time. It led straight down the hall to the last door on the right, room 1312. The door was slightly open with a thin line of pale light coming from inside. I stood in the hallway for a moment and listened. Nothing. I pushed the door open. Somebody had been living there. A bed roll on the floor beside the bed. Stacked cans of food on the desk. A duffel bag half open with clothes inside. A battery-powered lantern still warm to the touch. A layer of grime on everything except the areas that had been recently used. The desk, a cleared section on the floor, and the bathroom doorway. Went to the bathroom. The mirror above the sink had some names written on it. Floor to ceiling, edge to edge, written in something dark and rust color that I knew immediately wasn't marker. Some of the names near the top were old and faded to almost nothing. Others lower down there were darker, more recent. There were more names on that mirror than I could count standing there. I was still reading them when I heard the stairwell door at the end of the hall open. I turned off my flashlight. I stood completely still in the bathroom doorway, listening to slow, unhurried footsteps move down the hallway toward the room. They stopped just outside the door. I could hear breathing on the other side of the wall, steady and calm like somebody who had no idea I was there or didn't care. Then the footsteps moved away back down the hall. The stairwell door opened and closed. Gave it 2 full minutes before I moved. On my way out, I swept my flashlight under the bed and stopped. There was a wooden box, the kind you'd keep documents. I pulled it out and opened it. Key cards, dozens of them, stacked and loose, all deactivated, all with room numbers written on them in black marker. Different numbers, different floors, spanning what looked like many years based on different card designs and formats from different eras of the hotel's history. Underneath the key cards were photographs printed, standard size, bundled in loose stacks. I flipped through them with my flashlight. Guests taken without their knowledge through windows and cracked doors and in hallways. Hundreds of them going back what looked like years. My hands were shaking by the time I reached the bottom of the box, where a single stack was rubber banded separately from the rest. All the same woman taken over what looked like multiple visits, different seasons based on her clothing. The early photos were taken from a distance. They progressed. The last one in the stack was taken inside a hotel room. Low light with a woman asleep in bed, taken from close enough that I could see the detail of her face clearly. I recognized her, not personally, but from a news story I'd seen a couple years back. A woman who had stayed in the Alul for a work conference in 2019 and never checked out. They found her 3 mi away. The case was still unsolved as far as I knew. I called 911 from the stairwell and waited on the 12th until they arrived. They swept the floor and found the room empty. Whoever had been in that hallway was gone, and whatever access point that used to come and go was something. Investigators are apparently still trying to locate inside the building structure. The box was taken as evidence. The mirror was photographed and documented. The detective assigned to the case called me the following morning with a question. She asked if I had written anything on the mirror myself or touched it in any way. Said no and asked why. She paused and then told me there was a name at the very bottom of the mirror written smaller than the others. Below everything else like it had been added last. It was my name underneath it. My work schedule for the current week written out day by day. I haven't been back to the Alul since. I don't know how long that floor was being used or how many of those names mean what I think they mean. The investigation is ongoing and I've been told not to discuss specifics, which is part of why I've kept this vague.